We're going to go ahead and camouflage using a different technique. Now, as you see on my electrical boxes that we have here, I kind of like free-handed painted the black and the brown areas of these stowage boxes that are next to this electrical machinery that's used for the laying arm. But I was not too happy with the way it came out. I mean, it came out fine. It came out okay for what I wanted to do. But it seems a little bit too feathered and not too exacting in coverage of the paint that I wanted to do. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to come by and remove these boxes, number one, and we're going to go ahead and camouflage the tricolor of the laying arm. A couple things I want to point out. Number one, I did liquid mask the silvered areas, the metal, bare metal areas. I don't want to repaint those, but I probably will have to anyways. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the optronics section. This was partially painted using the freehand paint style that I've seen people do. And it's okay, like I said, it's fine. But if you take a look at my heck arm, that one came out a little bit more defined. You could see the actual borders of the the brown and the black. It's not a clear cut, but some parts were a little bit. But over here on this other side, you could see an actual blending of the brown and the black NATO colors. A little bit more of a distinctive. And the way I did that was this other technique using this material. And this material is called blue tack. It's basically a reusable adhesive that you would use like to pin up pictures, possibly light weighted pictures, hold down accessories, hold up party decorations. And this is a technique that I saw from this other person that I'll mention a little bit later. But basically, all this is just a way to use a putty to mask off certain areas. Now, as you can see, I've already outlined roughly the colors that I want onto this laying arm. So we're going to use that putty to actually paint out those different areas. Now, the blue tack actually comes in, like I said, that package, but I removed it and removed the strips. It comes up in strips, roughly, just like you see here. And I'm not going to pull the whole thing out because I'm going to reuse the ones that I use on the heck arm. And even though it's a bit grayish, a bit, colored with paint, we're going to hope to see that this thing will actually, provide us that slightly feathered camouflage look. First thing you want to do is that you want to warm it up in your hands a bit. Oops, sorry about that. Hit the post there. Warm it up in your hands a bit. Roll it out. Okay, knead it if you need to. And we're going to go and transfer ourselves to a different area to actually make this into a long strip, a long noodle, basically. And we're going to fit that around in those borders that I have made already to color up the camouflage sections of the laying arm. So I'm going to be right back. I'm going to show you what that's going to look like in just a moment. Okay, so after much masking, we put the masking tape, the Tamiya masking tape, over most of the putty around the borders. As you can see, we have a little bit of putty around here. I'll show it to you with my tweezers here in this general area. And I just cut and maneuver the tape on top of the putty. So that way I'll have that, a little bit of that feathered look. of the first paint I'm going to put down. It's just really precarious. It's a little bit dangerous in the sense that you're squishing a putty as you're putting down the tape. But the tape, the Tamiya tape, seems to stick pretty well to the putty, to that blue tack. There's just a few areas I just need to tape over. But this is pretty much what you should have when you're doing that. Yes, it is a bit laborious. It took me maybe about 35, maybe 40 minutes to put all this tape down. And this is just for the brown. Now, when we do the black, it's going to be pretty much the opposite, where I'm going to keep the putty more or less where it is. Excuse me. Keep the putty more or less where it is. And remove the tape. Now, that's going to be a little difficult. Most likely, you're going to remove the putty. But then when you do that, you're going to cover up the brown areas with that tape again. So it's going to be a bit of a laborious process. It was the same thing I did with the heck arm that I did previously, which I did not show you. I'm just showing you the results of what it would look like with the green, black, and brown NATO colors. So we're going to go ahead and paint this up, and we'll see the results. Okay, we're going to go ahead and paint the MIG ammo NATO brown into the interior first, and then I'm going to go ahead and re-secure it to paint the rest of this laying arm. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, go ahead and close that up. Re-secure it. Now you want to paint at pretty much at a perpendicular shot to the putty. That way, when you remove the tape, remove the putty, you should get that nice feathered look. And even though I drew what colors I wanted in pencil, it seems to get covered up pretty well with the paint. Let that dry for a moment, and then we'll respray it again. As you can see, the hole is pretty much masked up and puttied up using that blue tack putty and Tamiya's tape. We're going to go ahead and paint over the brown areas. So again, perpendicular shots. So I'm going to go ahead and repaint the storage boxes on here. I did do that putty. So the first thing you want to do when dealing with the blue tack putty, you want to make it into a thin strand. I would say maybe about 3 millimeters or so. It's easier to manipulate if you roll it out, starting from the center, working your way out to the ends. That way you have a pretty decent string of putty. You might have to break off pieces like it did here. So again, it doesn't be this big, giant, long noodle. And I'm going to go ahead and use a pair of just scissors, small scissors that I have, to even manipulate that even more so. So we're going to go ahead and get the electrical boxes. I'll show you how to do it with here. Try to outline as best as I can the original outline here. So let's go ahead and do that. Starting off, I probably would start towards the middle where you're applying your putty. Press it down a bit onto a corner and just go over what you want painted. Now, I've already painted this before, so I'm just going to repaint it to make it a little bit more defined looking, not sharp, but more defined looking outline for this black color. Now, so I've already painted it black. It's going to be a little difficult for me to not cover up the green part too much. So I'm just maneuvering it a little bit. Again, press it down on it. I'll trim off this edge right here because that part's going to be underneath or to the edge, of the laying arm. This part of here is going to be at the bottom of the laying arm. So we really don't need to paint that part. I'm not going to paint it. No reason for me to do that. No reason for me to camouflage that section. Okay, so that's pretty much it right there. And again, just press it down on there. Okay, so that's about it. That's all you need to do for something like that. Now, what about the more difficult parts? Well, let's go and get that. I'm going to go to the side of the tank. Now, bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and cover up a few of the portions, show you what I do, so that way you can do the same thing. And I got this, again, from YouTube, seeing other modelers doing their camouflage routine using this black mask. There's one person in particular. So Cold Demons PL Lucas. He's been a great person for me to reference to. Done some really great work on showing you how to make your armor models. So I like to reference him. I'm going to put a little his name, his YouTube channel on the description down below. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and remove. Again, it's not glued down yet. Okay, because I want to get these sub-assemblies taken care of. And we're going to go ahead with the side here. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, I did outline it. As you can see, the outline that you see here is basically from another person who I looked at, and that's Rick's 135th Models. Another good site. He actually traced out using pencil where your freehand painting was going to take place. But I didn't like the freehand too much. I thought I'm saying bad things about Rick. Rick's a great guy. Does a lot of German models. All right, so after considerable use of putty, making noodles, adjusting, getting the putty off my fingers, we finally established getting the putty down. Now, the next thing we're going to need to do is to mask the areas that are not going to be painted. Narrow gaps, certain patches that are going to be black, and we're going to be painting black. Certain patches, again, are painting black. So it's going to be important to know which side is going to be which. So it's going to be important, again, that you label it. You know, just using pencil lead. I think you can see where I wrote down BOK for black, BOK for black, BOK a little bit for black. And, you know, attaching the screens. Last screen is put down. And getting ready to paint. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to get our Tamiya paint tape. I believe this is 18 millimeter. And cut it down to small strips. Strips are obviously going to be narrow over here in certain areas so that we won't get paint on them. Okay, so that's our next step. I'll show you what that's going to be looking like in just a moment. So demonstrating with the stowage boxes, just show you how that's done. So we're going to get a bit of the tape, rip it down, and we're going to apply it directly onto the putty. Now, the thing is that obviously you want to cover, but you also want to, you know, use the putty as part of an outline. As you see me doing right now. You could press the putty onto the tape. You could press the tape onto the putty, as I'm going to do right now. Just ream it across. Make sure it follows the contour of the putty. And that's pretty much it. So as you can see, we're going to repaint that stowage box. I don't need to cover everything, even though maybe I might want to cover that up. But the paint's going to be going, excuse me for a sec. The paint's going to be going pretty much respraying this area. So I covered up most of it, but as you can see, I have a little bit of the tape not adhering too well. I can't really, as you can see on this part right here, have a little bit of the tape overlapping. So I'm going to just get my scissors and trim off that piece and just rip it right off. Okay, so that's how you use your tape to more or less mask. In fact, that little area that's right there, it looks like I'm going to just use this little piece right here, and wham, that's covered up. And just press the tape right onto the putty. The putty's sticky enough to actually have that happen, to make sure it's all adhesed. You can even use some of your leftover tape from the brown that I used before. I'm going to just tear off a piece right here. Tape's still sticky enough. I'm just going to cover just this little area right here. And you're all set. So I'll show you what the rest of the tank will look like in that yellow tape. So, as I just mentioned, reusing some of that tape from your previous paint mask, I mean, it's beneficial. I mean, look down below here. That's all the tape that I've used for masking off the brown. So reuse it if you can, you know, save you a ton of tape for one, and you know, it's still pliable. The paint's already dried, so you don't have to worry about it. If you get a little overspray, maybe that's okay. Maybe you're going to weather that part. So that's another thing we're going to have to do, is to weather out most of this tank. So, I mean, a little overspray is not going to kill it. Now, maybe you might want to measure certain areas for curves that we have here. So we'll go ahead and do that. And there you go. So it's like that. Press it down and around. And again, when you're spraying this, you want to spray this perpendicular to the surface that you're spraying. Okay, so that way you get that nice feathered look. Okay. Next thing is going to be the hole. I also have as well a much thinner 6mm tape. as you can see right there. Okay, so I used this a little bit for the very, very narrow gaps, sharp corners and such. But as you can see, I used, reused, I would say maybe about a good 2/3 of the previous tape. Used some new stuff as well and covered up as much of it as we can. The good thing about the sticky tape is that it adheres very well to the putty. So that's a good thing. But there are times where it adheres too well and it pulls up some of the putty. So have some putty at the ready nearby, another noodle, maybe a good string of it for any repairs that you need to do. Otherwise, we're ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and take a look back and go outside and start spraying. So this is the moment we've been waiting for. We're going to go ahead and remove the tape from the black masking. So I'm going to start off with the electrical stowage boxes here. A little bit more defined borders. Oh yeah, a lot much nicer. Still that faded, feathered look. And again, much more well defined. Okay, the only thing I probably need to do is just to matte it down, give it that matte color. But the borders came out good. That just came out just as nice. All right. Just this one little part is all was needed. The brown and the NATO black. Remove the drive sprocket so they don't get painted accidentally. But let's take a look at the upper hole. So understand the upper hole, the sides have not been glued down. I did glue down the photo edge vents. So we're going to start over here in the front. I can reach the front. And pretty nice. Nice edge. Good borders that we have here. Let's go ahead and take out the other one. I'm going to stop the video and show you what the rest of this look like. And here's the hole demasked. And as you can see, I I kind of like it. Not kind of, I do like it. I think it came out quite well. With the way the putty came out, the way the masking came out. I mean, granted, again, it's my first time doing camouflage, first time doing the tank in 20 years. There are some errors where it didn't come flush up against it. Maybe I didn't cover the entire pencil edge. But you know what? I think I did pretty damn well for what it looks like. Even the side skirts came out nice. Just need to matte it down a bit. I think that could be done pretty easily. Flip it over to the left-hand side. Okay, again, some hollows here and there. The pencil marks I'm not worried about. I think I can take care of that. But, you know, overall, I mean, take a look at that front panel. Front panel came out pretty good. Just the way I enjoyed it. There might be a little bit of a green line. We'll see what we could do. But you know what? Yahoo. Let's see what this whole thing looks like put together. So here is the very nearly completed Leo 2 AVLB. kind of a new paint scheme. Not bad. It looks rather cool, I think. Oh, get these tweezers out of here. There's still some other things I need to attach, some small things I need to add on. So that's going to be next. But other than that, everything I think is coming out A-OK. It's just a bit of add-up, touch-up paints, weathering, very likely. I already weathered the tracks, got to weather the tank, yeah? Okay, but overall, you know, not too bad. I'm pretty pleased on the paint job that I did. There's maybe about a 1-2% error on some of the masking, but all the corners look good. Most of the borders are done pretty well, so I'm pleased. I'm very happy. Anyways, next thing we're going to do is the weathering, and that's going to be it for this Leo 2 AVLB. The only thing we haven't done is at the bridge component, and that's going to be later on. Okay, so I'll show you what that looks like in another video.